What's going on, everybody? Just recently picked up this beautiful little fella here. In all honesty, attempted to do an unboxing video yesterday, but it took a lot longer than anticipated. I dropped him, which was not fun, but we'll get into that later. And more importantly, the video just ended up really kind of lengthy and didn't think it was worth keeping. So I figured instead we'll just do a quick display and review, go over the pros and cons, take a look at the stuff inside. There's not a ton of stuff about this guy out there, so I figured it would help if you were thinking about getting him. Now, first things first, I absolutely adore this figure. He is absolutely beautiful to me. When I first saw the pictures of him, I just thought he was one of the coolest looking figures I've seen in quite a while. He is an original concept. It's figure one in a series, supposedly. I'm hoping we might get a nice spicy vampire cop lady, maybe vampire crime boss. Maybe a mummy of some variety, who knows. They could do a ton of cool stuff with it. So far they're off to a pretty good start. That being said, while I am pretty much all in on this line, there are a bunch of issues that I had with this figure in general, and I'm gonna go ahead and get to those first, because if you can get past all of those, which may be deal breakers to some, then you're gonna want to see the good stuff. Now, the first thing is the price. This guy costs about 240 McChicken sandwiches, which is a hefty deal for a figure, especially an original line. They did do a great job with basically everything on him, so to me he's worth that cost. But for some people that's probably a little steep. You can get a really cool hot toy with that. Put in a little bit more, get something you really like, get a cool licensed one. Or if if you're kind of like me and want specific stuff in your collection, spending that much on something that just kind of looks cool may not be your cup of tea. For me, I pretty much just buy stuff that I think looks cool. So seeing a nice box like this, had to get him. I mean, this guy is just an absolute chiller. I'm pretty confident if enough of these are sold, we will gradually solve global warming. This is the type of figure you could bring to hell to drop to room temperature. He is just absolutely dynamite, and I really can't say much more about how much I love his look, and can't wait to get him up on a shelf. Now, that being said, let's get into the bad things. So on Big Bad Toy Store, it does say he comes with a black figure display stand, which clearly from this you can see he does not. He does balance incredibly well, so that's decent. You'll be able to do some basic museum poses, which is kind of all you're going to be able to do for other reasons anyway. But I was a little bummed that the stand didn't come with it. I don't know if that's something typo on Big Bad Toy Store's fault, or if it's something with COO Toys that made it. Not really too sure. I'll probably send an email over to Big Bad, see if they have any details. Worst case scenario, it's in figure stand. I've got plenty of them, so it's not the end of the world by any means, but kind of a disappointment. Other thing I was a little bit bummed with is kind of a big deal, and that's actually the posability and articulation, and I'm going to kind of show you that now. While he does have some absolutely great clothing, they did a really good job with all of it. Again, absolutely love the work. The fabric's really good, really did good job just in all regards in that aspect. The problem is, I'll put him back here, you cannot get really any range of motion forward. There's basically not going to be a whole lot of poses you can put him in arm-wise with this jacket on. Now I will say, when you look back at most of the photos you'll see of him, if he's wearing the jacket, his arms are pretty much down, so I probably should have put two and two together, but I'm kind of stupid, so I didn't. I was thinking I'd be able to have him, holding the gun, smoking the cigarette, something like that. Not gonna happen with that coat on. Now, I might take the silver coat off from the inside, that little guy in there. If I remove that, he'll probably get a little more flexibility, but that does kind of help give him that layered look that I like. So I kind of just, in general, wish it would be a little more mobile. That's really the biggest issue that I had, which in the grand scheme of things isn't much. I could do basic museum poses and I'll be pretty much a-okay there. Now, I did hear a couple people complain that he only came with one neck peg, which for me isn't an issue. I am not going to be changing heads, I don't think. So to me, don't really need an extra one for any reason. Just kind of a complaint that some people might have, but for me wasn't a big deal. Now with that all being said, let's get into what I do love, which is pretty much everything else. I genuinely think the figure looks really, really cool. He does come with a whole bunch of cool accessories, which we will kind of dive into one at a time, and we'll kind of take a look overall. Now, the first thing I'm going to show is these little explosion things, and the reason I'm going to show them is because I'm not overly impressed with them. They are cool. You can pretty much put them on the barrel of the guns. They just kind of clip right on to make it look like they're firing. I don't think I'm going to use them at all, to be honest. They'll probably just stay in the box. Maybe with the machine gun I might, but overall I wasn't really too impressed with them. It is a nice thing to come with. I'm sure some people are going to love them, just not necessarily my thing. Now he does come with 2 cigarettes. I haven't opened them because they are super duper tiny. One of them does have a lit cherry on it, which I think is awesome, and it does come with a cool little smoke effect you can put on it to make it look like it's smoking. I will definitely be using this once I display them, but for now I lose things easily, so something that small is going to stay in this taped up bag in the box until I've got him on his shelf. You might be able to attach the smoke to one of the guns to have a smoking gun barrel. Not entirely sure. You could probably rig up something with like a sticky tack or even just a very tiny cut off corner of tape, something simple. I don't think it would be too tricky to do, so you might want to try and go that route. Could be pretty neat. He does have a really cool little journal here. It's got actual pages in it. Some of them look like there's try to be writing on them. I don't know. It's tough to say. There's definitely some detail in there. Not a lot. It might just be the texture of the paper and just kind of the way it catches the light. But either way, I do think it's really cool. It is leather bound, so they did a neat job with that. I definitely think that's a fun little accessory for him to have. Plop that right there. He's got a leather holster, which I haven't strapped on. This holster is for this beautiful gun. Now, one thing I do want to say about these guys, I didn't expect them to be metal, but they are die cast, and that made me really happy. They've got a lot of good weight to them. The paint up on this is pretty decent. I think it definitely looks cool. Doesn't have any moving parts, which is kind of a bummer, but not the end of the world. The other gun I like a heck of a lot more. This thing I think is beautiful. They did some really cool work on it. It's got some great weathering on the barrel itself. Very, very heavy duty, which I love. Strap's a nice material. I don't really think it's leather. It's tough for me to say. Cool little cloth green wrap on the butt gives it some extra color. It does have some threads. I'll probably clip those, but they just add a little bit of flavor to it, so maybe not. You can load the magazine into there, which he comes with a whole bunch of them. He's actually got a little belt that comes with a bunch, so you can strap this around his waist. That way he is always ready and packing some heat. Now, I do find it kind of interesting that they have 5 spots for the magazines, but you only get 4, and you're probably going to want 1 in the gun. So you're more than likely going to have 2 empty at all times. I guess that gives you a little bit of room to kind of get creative with them. Figure in the grand scheme of things, this is going to be around his waist. You're not going to see all of those spots anyways. But it's just strange to kind of include 1 for a magazine that you don't actually get. There is a deluxe figure. Maybe it comes with more. I know it comes with a light post accessory and some stuff. Maybe that's the one that comes with the black display base, and it just didn't really clarify it on the regular one. But just a little kind of weird thing with that, in my opinion. The hat is awesome. I'm going to show that with the specific head sculpt right here. And the reason is, what they did is they've got this cool little magnet inside, and you can actually just yank the hair off of the figure. So if you want the humanish head sculpt, I guess he's fully human form. These are the ones that I think look way, way cooler. I love the look of them in general. This guy's got the super tough snarl. Teeth and eyeballs look amazing. Really just the paint up on it is outstanding. But if you want to use one of these with hair, plop it on. It stays on nice and easily. Doesn't really move around a whole lot. Or if you want them to wear the hat, pop that on, good to go. You can, of course, wiggle it around. The magnet is pretty strong, so it's going to hold it, basically however you position it. I honestly think that's a pretty good way of doing hats, especially on sculpted hair. So I was definitely thrilled with that. I'm probably going to pose him with hat on. I think he just looks a little cooler that way. So we'll go ahead and leave that there for now. Now, earlier I mentioned I dropped him when I was doing the unboxing. I'm going to mention that now because he took about a 5-foot fall onto a hard floor. He was equipped with this head when that happened. The reason I bring that all up is I'm going to show you the only bit of damage that he took. If you can see it, is that little paint scuff there. Kind of depressing that I scratched him the day I got him, but very impressed that I dropped him from that height and that's all that happened. Not going to recommend you drop yours by any means, but good to know that he is durable enough and that they kind of made that well enough to take that sort of a beating. Again, don't recommend doing it. You do get some werewolf scruff to put around his neck if you want to use one of the wolf heads. These I was actually more impressed by than I thought I'd be. I honestly didn't like them from the pictures that I saw, but up close, I think this one in particular is definitely cool. I may eventually use it. Some of you might like it more than the human one. I wouldn't really blame you. The teeth look great. The tongue looks great. They did a great job with the paint app on it. Really get that kind of wet look inside of his mouth and that nice furry look up there. So I was very impressed with that. You get a whole bunch of hands, so you can use a wide variety of stuff there. And without anything else, that's what we got. Thank you very much. You all have a good one.